General Hospital spoilers tease that Lulu Spencer is closing in on the long-hidden truth about Dante Falconeri and Brooke Lynn Quartermain's past, but what she uncovers will rock Port Charles to its core. Beyond the rumor mill claiming Gio Palmieri is Dante and Brooke Lynn's son, Lulu will soon discover an even larger secret, that she herself once carried a child to term while unconscious, and that Joe's true origin is far more complicated. From the moment those hushed rumors began circulating around General Hospital's hallways, Lulu Spencer felt a familiar tug at her heart. For weeks she had chased whispers and scraps of evidence suggesting that Gio Palmieri, the sweet-natured boy raised by Lois Cerullo, might in fact be the secret son of Dante Falconeri and Brooke Lynn Quartermain. Nurses exchanged knowing glances, doctors shot furtive texts, and the rumor mill churned through every possible scenario. But as Lulu dug deeper, she sensed that the puzzle pieces refused to fit neatly. Her investigation started innocently enough: a mismatched birth date on a hospital record here, a flash of Lois's anxious expression there. But when Dante's frustration exploded after Rocco Falconeri's near-fatal poisoning, directing his wrath at Gio, Lulu felt the case escalate into something far more consequential. Lois Cerullo's fierce defense of Gio in that moment wasn't simply protectiveness. It was cover for an intricate deception that spanned decades. Lulu spent late nights in the dusty archives of General Hospital, sifting through logs and lab prints. With every page turned, she uncovered inconsistencies so striking that they could only point to a meticulously orchestrated cover-up. Records showed Brooke Lynn hospitalized under an alias immediately after a severe car accident, an incident for which there was no publicly documented child. Then, in a separate folder, Lulu found a neonatal report listing a male infant born during Brooke Lynn's stay, only to vanish hours later. The report's author? Lois Cerullo. As hypotheses swirled through her mind, Lulu realized the storyline she'd accepted, that Gio was Dante and Brooke Lynn's child, was only part of the tale. She traced the timeline. Brooke Lynn's hospital stay coincided precisely with a period when Lulu herself had been rendered unconscious by a mysterious health crisis. According to Lulu's own medical file, she had given birth during that blackout, a fact she had no memory of. How, then, had Lois managed to hide that reality from her? Piecing it together required confronting those closest to her. Lulu arranged a clandestine meeting with Lois at Kelly's diner, hoping to unravel the truth face-to-face. Lois arrived, eyes red-rimmed but resolute under the harsh diner lights. Every challenge from Lulu was met with taut explanations. The infant was placed for private adoption, Brooke Lynn's sorrow was too great to share, and Dante's reputation demanded protection. Yet in Lois's eyes, Lulu saw something far darker, guilt steeped in betrayal. As she left the diner, Lulu recalled scattered confidences from Brooke Lynn herself. The Quartermain scion had once confided that she lost her baby in utero after the accident. Lois had told Brooke Lynn the child was alive and thriving in an adoptive home. But a grieving mother's heart sometimes needed a softer lie than the stark truth. Lulu reached a chilling conclusion. The infant Brooke Lynn lost and the child Lulu carried might be one and the same. By uncovering her own birthing records and reviewing Lois's hand-scrawled notes, Lulu confirmed that while Brooke Lynn's biological son had died, a newborn baby had disappeared and later emerged in Lois's custody as Gio. The implication was impossible. Gio was not Dante and Brooke Lynn's son, but an abducted child rebranded to compensate for that tragic loss. Each moment of that revelation hammered at Lulu's resolve. She replayed Joe's childhood, his toothy grin, his quips about family, his bond with her cousin Avery. Was any of it real? If Gio were not the child of Dante and Brooke Lynn, Dante's confusion and guilt over his misplaced suspicions made heartbreaking sense. He had seen a spark of connection with Gio, paternal instincts misled by Lois's deception. Late into that stormy night, Lulu compiled every shred of proof: neonatal charts, Lois's diaries, clandestine hospital memos. And then she made her decision. She would confront Dante and Brooklyn, but she would not stop there. Lois had stolen a life, severed blood ties, and left a child to bear a false legacy. Justice demanded reckoning, not just for Brooklyn's truth, but for Joe's right to know who he truly was. The break of dawn found Lulu at Brooklyn's doorstep, dossier in hand. She rang the bell with trembling conviction, knowing that the moment of truth could shatter lives. Brooklyn answered in a silk robe, remorse and apprehension flickering in her eyes. In a voice trembling between anger and relief, Lulu spoke. "Brooklyn, it's time you knew everything." As Brooklyn sank to the threshold, Lulu explained how Lois had falsified records, suppressed the reality of her stillborn child, and replaced him with an innocent boy stolen from hope and heritage. Chestnut-haired Brooklyn wept at the recounting, confessing that when she awoke in pain and grief long ago, Lois spun a tale of private adoption to spare her from losing everything, including her family's esteem. Dante's reaction was a storm of confusion and shattered trust. He confronted Lois in the hospital's underground corridor, the sterile walls bearing witness to his rage. "How could you?" he demanded, eyes glistening. Instead of the anger he expected, Lois offered a plea. She had acted out of misguided love, desperate to save two suffering mothers from unbearable heartbreak. She had hoped Gio could heal Brooklyn's grief and provide Lulu a future she otherwise would have lost in that blackout. The moral quagmire of Port Charles's most audacious secret lay bare. One lie birthed another, and the casualties were greater than any individual could have foreseen. Gio, cradled in Lois's arms for years, had become more than a surrogate son. He was family to Avery, to Lulu, and nearly to Dante. To eject him from that reality risked inflicting wounds deeper than any bloodline could mend. Lulu's crusade for the truth shifted into a fight for redemption. She brokered a delicate pact. Gio would have the choice to know his origin, surrounded by love and truth, not the sterile confines of a courtroom. Brooklyn and Dante vowed to embrace Gio as the son he believed himself to be, regardless of genetics. Lois would face legal consequences, but Lulu insisted on mercy, recognizing that a lifetime of lies stemmed from a heart broken by tragedy. In an emotional hospital press conference, Brooklyn addressed the media with Dante at her side. With empathy and raw honesty, they revealed the decades-old secret, vowed to support Joe's emotional journey, and asked Port Charles for compassion. Their statement resonated across the community. Family transcends biology, and love remains the strongest bond of all. Days later, in the Quartermain garden where Brooklyn and Dante had first spoken of fatherhood, Gio stood surrounded by Avery, Lulu, and Trina. As he released a single white dove into the sky, he spoke his own vow, to honor both his birth mother's memory and the mothers who raised him in love. His words carried hope for a future where truth and compassion could finally coexist. General Hospital's most breathtaking spoiler reminds us that the deepest secrets often lie within our own pasts, and that redemption arrives on the wings of forgiveness. In Port Charles, even a tale born of desperation can give rise to an enduring testament that children need not share DNA to be family, and that love, when unwavering, can heal the most profound wounds. But for Lulu, the journey didn't simply end with a dove's release or a public statement. In the quiet weeks that followed, she struggled with an internal reckoning. She had spent years in a coma, robbed of time, of motherhood, of identity, and now she had to grieve for the son she never got to raise. Her body had healed, her mind was sharper than ever, but her heart bore a fresh scar that only time and closeness with Gio could hope to mend. She began keeping a journal, writing long letters to the child she'd missed, trying to forge a bridge between the past and present. Lois, meanwhile, prepared to stand trial. Port Charles's DA agreed to lesser charges due to the emotional complexity and the testimonials from Brooklyn, Dante, and Lulu herself. Though Lois would not serve prison time, she would be court-ordered into community service and counseling, a symbolic penance for the decades she had spent cloaked in guilt. Her punishment was public, but her path forward would be private and riddled with contrition. Brooke Lynn, ever the complicated daughter, began mending fences with Lois. Despite the initial betrayal, she remembered every late-night lullaby, every fever Lois had soothed, and every smile she brought to Joe's face. With Dante's support, she chose to give her mother the chance to earn forgiveness. Brooke Lynn began organizing charity concerts under Deception's name to raise funds for trauma support centers, her way of channeling pain into healing for others. And Dante, still the compass of moral clarity in Port Charles, was left to rebuild trust. With Lulu, with Brooke Lynn, and with his own understanding of fatherhood. The revelation had shifted his foundation, but not his capacity for love. He began taking Gio to volunteer with the Peace PD's youth outreach, hoping that through community and compassion, Gio could grow stronger in the truth of his identity. As for Gio himself, his evolution was the most profound. A young man who had always felt different now understood why. He started attending therapy, took an interest in his heritage, and even began mentoring at-risk teens. With Lulu slowly entering his life as more than a family friend, their connection deepened into something precious, a second chance at the bond they were denied. Port Charles watched it all unfold, not with scandalous glee, but with quiet empathy. For in a town known for secrets, this one had broken the cycle of bitterness and rewritten the meaning of family. And in that rewriting, everyone had the chance to begin again.